Yo, what is up, guys? I'm back with another video here today, and this is actually going to be my first video talking Star Wars on the channel, but this is going to be the first of many starting now. But obviously, today is actually the day, or I guess we're about 23 hours away, technically, from Mando Chapter 23, Season 3, Episode 7, coming out. And this is an episode that has a lot of hype behind it because, of course, it was shown at Celebration. And unless you have been avoiding all the spoilers, there are a lot of interesting concepts that are both generating a lot of positivity and negativity online. But I'm just going to say this now. I am getting right into spoilers for this episode. So if you're not interested, come back tomorrow and see what I have to say tomorrow, but this is the time to click off now if you're not interested in being spoiled. But without further ado, I am going to get right into it just by saying this episode pretty much confirms a long-running theory in that Moff Gideon is a Mandalorian. Moff Gideon, apparently in this episode, and these are coming straight from leaks from Celebration, does get his Mandalorian helmet in this episode. That is the big thing. Now, let me not gloss over the whole Moff Gideon thing, because if people didn't hear what the episode is going to start with, there might be some confusion as to, oh, Moff Gideon, he hasn't been anywhere in this season. Where is he going to come from? Apparently, this episode starts with a somewhat of a cold open where Moff Gideon is meeting with other Imperial remnant warlords. It's called the Shadow Council, and one of them ends up being Hux Sr., Hux from the sequel trilogy, so there's our first tie-in there. But this council is meeting, and they are discussing the plans of Grand Admiral Thrawn, and waiting on the plans of Grand Admiral Thrawn because he is missing. And it is in this meeting where Giddeon pretty much says, maybe we shouldn't be waiting around for him, and Giddeon kind of starts taking the leadership position. Or not necessarily leadership position, but he's taking initiative while the others are still more hesitant, waiting for Thrawn. And just to add this in now, I am seeing also a couple people saying that in this meeting, while most of them are talking about waiting on Thrawn's return, the division led by Hux, and his name is going to be Brendol Hux, are actually in the early workings of resurrecting Palpatine. So there you go, another sequel connection. But again, I'm not seeing this as widely reported as some of the other stuff, so this may not be 100%, but I would be inclined to believe it is as well. And it is then at this point where the second sequel connection comes in, as Giddeon will request Pratorean Guards. And Pratorean Guards are the really cool looking guards from the sequels, even though they have the worst fight choreography of any scene ever. In the throne room fight when Kylo and Rey face off against all the Praetorian Guards. They do look really cool, and they are supposed to be the super elite warriors, and Giddeon requests them for backup because Giddeon is going after the Mandos. So that is apparently how this episode starts, and I just wanted to discuss some of the other stuff that actually has been confirmed for this episode. First off, just touching back on the Giddeon Mando helmet. He is rumored to be getting a helmet. There were rumors that he was Mandalorian. We found out in the 2 episodes ago that it was Mandalorians who broke him out. So that was kind of teasing at that there. But it does look to be the case that Giddeon is a Mando, or was a former Mando, because he will be getting his own helmet. Now, moving on to the next thing. This is a rumored death, so if you don't want to hear that, I know I already gave the spoiler warning, but this is kind of a next level up. Paz Vizsla is reported to die in this episode. Now, that is some pretty interesting news, because Paz is, even though he's not a very prominent character, he's definitely a character I feel like a lot of people would want to see more of. So killing him off is certainly going to be quite interesting, but I'm a fan of it because we do need some stakes in these episodes. We need some people to actually start getting hurt. We need something to start going down. And I think if they do it in the right way, it could be a very impactful death on the show. And then the final thing I want to touch on is the fact that it is true that Grogu is going to be getting an Iron Man mech suit out of the former parts of IG-11. And apparently he is now referred to as IG-12 in the show, and Grogu will be using him as a mech suit. Apparently the mech suit will have buttons on it where IG can speak for Grogu and say yes and no, and Grogu's able to communicate through that. And from the people at Celebration saying, people were asking, is it going to be too goofy, or is it, they're saying it's goofy, but it's silly, but in a hilarious and fun way. So maybe people will like it, and then maybe people are just going to see it as even more ridiculous, as Grogu did absolutely nothing this season, and now he's coming in with an Iron Man suit. But that will certainly be interesting, to say the least. Now, the final thing I have to add is about the ending of the episode. Now, the ending of the episode, it is rumored that Din Djarin gets captured by Giddeon, and Giddeon sends interceptors and bombers on the Mandalorians and their fleet. So, however he gets captured, that hasn't been revealed, but apparently Giddeon has captured Din by the end of this episode, which probably leads to, which is why people are saying it's a very cliffhanger ending, and we don't really know what's going to happen next. Now, I do want to mention, this has not been confirmed by anyone, but there is speculation floating around that Boba will either show up at the end of this episode, and probably not at the end of this episode, but he might come into play in the next episode, and that would make some sense, because, I mean, they need all the help they can get. Boba is friends with Din Djarin. They have helped each other multiple times in the past, and Boba kind of owes Din now. If you think about it, their last interaction was Din absolutely putting his life on the line, saving Tatooine. Despite what people may think about the show, in my opinion, it was a little disappointing overall. But the last episode, there were some real cool scenes featuring Boba and Din, at least. And Boba, with his new mentality, he probably has the mindset of, I owe Din now. So if the Mandos come to him and let him know that Din's captured, that would definitely open the door for him showing up in the final episode. But definitely a ton to speculate, a ton of fun things to think about, and I'm definitely going to be making another video on this subject after the actual episode has come out, so I can kind of talk about all of it and confirm whether all of this information is even true or not. Now, this is just, again, this is probably all true, but again, it's not like it's in fact, and the people talking about it, I've been combing the internet looking at all these different people that were supposedly at Celebration. I've seen pictures leaked from the post-credit concept art, and a lot of this stuff is lining up. So I'm not just spitballing this stuff and saying all the random information of anybody I can find, because obviously there's probably a lot of people lying. I'm trying to get the most consistent information, and this is what I've been able to find. But again, this comes out in 23 hours, so we don't have too much longer to wait to see. But really, that's all I have to say in this video here. Likes, dislikes, let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, peace.